continue with the assembly members. Have a dear friend here who I've known for a long time. Congratulations. You look, Rose Rodriguez, all I can tell you is that she's actually been around. I'm sorry, I'm holding the mic again. You know me, you put a mic in front of me.
He doesn't need to.
Yeah, exactly. All I have to say is congratulations. You've just been appointed today, and it was announced by the governor as a new diversity officer of New York State. And I've got to tell you, I was surprised pleasantly. You come out of the New York State Labor Department a few months back. As a matter of fact, at the Black Caucus weekend, I was asking you and nudging you and trying to find out what is it you're going to get. You wouldn't talk to me. No, Gerson, don't talk. So I'm glad that the governor made this choice. I think that you're a very qualified person. You know diversity. You've lived it. Ashley, this young lady was part of the original Cuomo, Mario Cuomo. She worked for Daddy Cuomo, and you were in the thick of things. We won't get to all the details because you're too young.
No.
So how does it feel? I mean, this is a tremendous charge that the governor has put on you.
It's fascinating. The challenge is incredible after spending the past 3 years at the Department of Labor and helping the governor advance his initiatives, his agenda, focusing on workforce development, helping businesses, helping others in terms of how we diversify the workforce and help businesses across the state find a qualified workforce. Then now we're going to go internally, and we're going to look at our state government and issues of diversity and how we begin to develop a more effective process for how we diversified our government and how we could broaden opportunities. But it's really looking at it in the same way that we looked at MWBEs. The governor had to break that down, look at it deeply, go into it, see how we were approaching the situation, and we came up with a 25% success rate moving forward to 30. I think we have the same opportunity. We have the model there. We have the same opportunity to do something with the area of diversity, understanding that we went through a fiscal phase that sort of put limitations on how we could really look in terms of expansions. But the issue is not about whether we're expanding. The issue is as the opportunities are arising, what does the pool look like that can have those opportunities available to them? So I'm excited.
I don't know if you have a question, but I just want to do a follow-up here. One of the things that we devote this issue of the SOMOS conference of city and state, New York, is the fact that there's there doesn't seem to be a movement of increasing the numbers of Hispanics, and it dates back to the original Mario Cuomo when he was governor. You were there, and it goes on to Pataki, and it went on to all the governors. I mean, it's been 5 governors. This is the 5th governor who has in 5 mayors. That people have been monitoring. It doesn't increase. I know that the current governor, Andrew Cuomo, is very aware of it. I know that there's been several attempts, hasn't been successful. So what is it that, I know you understand it, in terms of Latinos, and even Assemblyman Marco Crespo addresses it in an op-ed for City and State New York. It's a systemic problem. I write in my editor's note about the systemic problem they have with the exclusion of Latinos. I know you don't have a magic wand that you're going to wave, but you do have the experience. You just mentioned that. What is the first thing that you're going to do, Rose Rodriguez, people will know you're going to start getting calls. What is it that you think that you're going to focus on to move the governor's desire into actually policy?
Yeah, I think when the governor approaches a lot of his initiatives that end up focusing on whether it's policy, legislation, or budget, he focuses it with a thorough analysis of looking and going deeper than what we think the problem may be on the surface in order to find a more systemic solution to the problems that we're raising or the issues that communities are raising. It's an issue not just in the Latino communities, across the board. And so as diversity officer, my mandate is to look across the board. But it's really, we really have to look at ourselves first, the internal structure, and how our process works and how they interact with each other and correlate with one another in terms of how we're approaching the recruitment process. So my focus is going to be on recruitment through how we actually do it through state government.
Does that mean actually
And-
calling in the heads of agencies and discussing what
Yes, exactly. And it was no different than how he proceeded with the MWB process that brought us to the success that we have today.
Are there-
so,
oh, sorry.
very similar.
Are there areas already that you know you want to kind of attack? Or
Well, the area is looking at our recruitment process, really, and starting to look at it, recognize where we need to begin to address a better systemic approach, and then also build the pool of potential candidates in the state workforce, in our own workforce, but also look at, we're looking at the appointments process, the civil service process, and then there's a process of hiring people based on minimum qualifications. And each agency has their own internal process for how they look at those positions that are done through civil service. The same way with MWB, how they were doing contracting. And the governor initiated the whole MWB process that sort of looked at the whole picture, whole government. It's not about putting a person in a position there and one there, but looking at the whole system and seeing how we create a more uniform process. That then when we want to hold the governor accountable, we know that we know what we're doing and how we're going to push forward in creating diversity across ethnic communities, across the agencies, and finding the best talent. Finding the best talent.
Terrific.
so what is your response to someone who would say, for example, this is essentially affirmative action? I mean,
Well, we have EEO.
Right.
Federal government mandate EEO, affirmative action. That is not about quotas. It's about a level playing field for people.
Right.
And the issue becomes not whether we're hiring minorities. It's whether the pool of applicants is diverse enough.
right.
And so a focus of what I want to look into is our outreach. How are we outreaching? And outreaching is just not sort of setting up a process by where people submit their resumes and we go to minority areas, but it's also about whether we can engage and whether the resources are there for us to pull together through agencies where we could start probably preparing people for the civil service exams. Individuals that normally would not undertake the process because either they're not familiar with it or they're intimidated by it. So I think there's a lot to be done there, but I think you're gonna see that with the same bold ambition that he gave to MWBE and the way he's focused and committed to diversity. It was his remarks at today's SOMOS event that he had his guest at the mansion. So I think the commitment is there, and I am fascinated by the opportunity, having worked with his father on similar issues. And I think we've did well there, and I think we're going to do even better now.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do know that this governor understands this fully. He's been aware of it. He knew it from his father. He knew what the problems, what the complaints were. It's still present. I have to be fair because I do know that there's been an attempt to remedy this. So maybe you're there.
Yeah. Right.
Rose Rodriguez.
All right.
There you go. Gracias. Un placer.
you.
Felicidades,
Thank
mi
you,
amor.
thank you.
Gracias. Thank you so much.